what to do.
Yeah, I think we should start because it's 5 minutes up. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome everyone to the 6th session of Reimagining Economics. Let's begin our lecture by reciting the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha. So today's session will be about the framework. Last session we covered about methodology, Maqasid methodology, and inshallah we'll have some practical example as well today. So I give the floor to Dr. Idris.
Okay, welcome everyone. Alhamdulillah, thank you for joining this session as well. And we are continuing to talk about the Maqasid methodology. And before we do that, actually, I wanted to remind you about the final assignment. And let me just share the page very quickly. Dr. Zaid, if you could allow me to share, please.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So basically, we are in the middle of the session, in the middle of this course, and I just wanted to give you a head start so that you can either continue working on what you have been working during the Ramadan, or maybe you have some other topic that you'd like to cover. But the final assignment is just something that we encourage you to take up whatever the issue or problem or challenge that you'd like to study yourself, and this is something of interest for you. And it has to be related to economic phenomena somehow. And please try to analyze that topic using the Maqasid methodology. And so you can do anything, like you can do review paper, you can do case study, or you can write an organizational strategy, or you can even renew some existing strategy from an organization. Or you can write, or you can review a policy paper, or a reflection, or you can write a reflection paper on any of the topics, or the book itself, the Envisioning Islamic Scholarship. You can write a reflection paper, or you can write just simple essay on any topic that is interest for you. So it should be in English, of course, and then do include your title, name, and if you are part of some organization, write your affiliation as well. But it's not necessary. And also the word count, you can write up to 3,500. So it is less than around 10 pages. It could be less than that. But again, I mean, it's up to you. If you are able to write more, you're welcome to do that. Then citation and referencing style, that's my personal preference in social sciences. You could use APA, but you can use any other. But make sure that you use the same styling, referencing style throughout the document. Now what also based on what you are writing on this final assignment, you'll also have to do the presentation. And actually, you can start doing your presentations even from the next week if you have something in mind already and you want to participate, or you want to like extend some of your thoughts about the course, or about the application of Maqasid methodology in the study of economic phenomena. So you can submit it right here in the LMS. Then another important part of this is the topic, the choice of topics. You are, as I said, you're free to do that. But if possible, if it is a research, if you want to do a research, no need to really change like change the world, or do something very big. Try to focus on something specific. All right, because I know we are sometimes we're trying to change the world with our papers. You won't, believe me, you will not change the world with one paper, especially if it is an assignment. Just as an idea, but try to be specific on something. Then another thing. So let me stop sharing here. Also, before we go into actually discussing the topic, I wanted, because we're in the middle of this course, like we're in the middle, and I wanted to have like a sense, gauge a sense of what do you think of the whole course? What do whether we are in whether you are getting what you expected. Is it we are falling short of your expectations, or maybe you whatever you have watched, maybe from the videos or from the last from whatever we covered in last week's. Maybe you have your own either questions or comments. So let's just spend a few minutes there discussing the course contents until now. Maybe some of the videos that we shared by Sheikh Jasser. If you have any questions or anything regarding the course, or your personal feelings about the course. So let's just spend a few minutes, and it's an open discussion. So anyone, you're welcome to start. Yassine, you want to start?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just want to start this discussion. First, like I'm a bit familiar with the videos from Prof. Jasser, because I've also taken the basic one. So, but with regards to the flow, like for me, I think I'm just a beginner in whatever is happening here. A lot of you guys are already experts in the field. So I'm just enjoying the flow, how it goes. I also mentioned that I'm still on my dissertation paper. So the broadness of the perspective, but and then it has a focus on economics, on finance, on those aspects. So it helps me give an insight on how other things, both on the professional level, academic, and then there's an Islamic perspective. So I'm just glad on how it's going. It's a little bit also free flowing and open for everyone. So it's not your common lecture one-way discussion. People are given the time to air, and when people talk, there's also coming from a deeper background of certain level of expertise. So I think that's something that I appreciate with this course, that the source of knowledge is not only coming from lecturers, but other members of the group who are also people of certain knowledge from their own field. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brother Yassine. Anyone else would like to chip in?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead,
Thank
please.
Now, I would like to echo what Yassine was saying. I think, thank you so much for all the time you're taking. I think it is a wonderful initiatives. I think we are all learning from it. And so I would like to commend what, Dr. Ildos has been doing, Dr. Zaid and Sister Ambreen. Mashallah, may Allah reward you. I think this is a great endeavor. I think it complements very well the Maqasid, the general class we've been taking. We're taking all the online quizzes and lectures from the Sauda at the same time. Try to have some question online. I think it's great. Your slides, are right on point. I think it would be great it would be very wonderful if we could have the material before class, and during class that we could have a little more time for discussion. And I know it's very difficult because every single one of us would talk for like 2 hours, easily. And so the problem is just managing time, managing discussion, and making sure we are all on point here. I think our second session was great when we had like this presentation, but we saw that it's very difficult to control time, especially we all have different interests, different topic, and things like that. But I think Sister Ambreen, shared a lot of documents. I think it's great, maybe a little bit too much. We don't know exactly what to read because our time is limited, but mashallah, I think it's great. We have a lot of things to learn from, which is the right way to start. A little bit of more discussion that is like tailored towards some specific topic, and I think would be great. So all of us could benefit from it here. But again, I really appreciate all what you're doing, Dr. Elius and Zaid. Dr. Zaid, I think it's really, really great, and you're doing a wonderful job.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Any comments on the methodology specifically? What you have learned so far as a philosophy or as a worldview? Is there anything that maybe you don't understand yet, or maybe you disagree with whatever the videos you've watched so far by Sheikh Jasser, or anything like that? Any feedback on the methodology? Okay.
Sorry, again, if you could have like Sister Ambreen did some texts before that, Islamic economics has been there like for 1500 years. So if you could have some, I think Sister Ambreen really gave some very wonderful texts. We haven't touched base on those texts in the class, but there are some really, really good research she shared with us. And so maybe just highlighting the topic we're going to be talking, the article we're going to be talking about today, I think will help a lot in the discussion here.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, this is new for us as well. This is new for me, for Dr. Zaid, I guess for Sister Ambreen, for every one of us. And so we are learning as we go. We understand that there is something that needs to be discussed. We need to apply this methodology in different areas, and economics and finance happens to be what we mostly familiar with. And this is where we started, and we started this course, and there will be other courses on Islamic psychology, on others on civilizational studies, inshallah, and in other areas, in public policy. So this is a pilot project, and I'm sorry you are all like what is it? You're test rabbit or something like that. Along with us, really. So we are studying and learning where and how to apply, but we understand that these approaches, this methodology, it has potential. And more than anything else, is basically reconnecting with the Book of Allah. So that's the main purpose of this course. Now back to the course. Let me. Okay, let's go on.
Okay, so one thing that we're trying to drive towards here is, again, like we need to have this common ground for us to interact on, and there is a reason behind everything. Like we really we covered. So when we covered worldview, it's really because we, what I observe is that we say or we talk about the centrality of the Quran Kareem, but I personally have never really seen it being seriously taken until I saw, Sheikh Jasser, Dr. Basma Al-Ghaffar, and other scholars. But there are really few scholars and practitioners, and even, who actually truly embrace the word of the Quran Kareem. And until we get to that point, that's why we will never really get we'll never really break through. So that's why, I mentioned at the beginning and throughout this, if we are not really connecting with the Quran Kareem, if we're not reading the Quran Kareem every single day and contemplating the Quran Kareem, then whatever we are dreaming of happening will not happen. It just simply will not happen. And this is a very simple fact, but we can, the amazing thing that each one of us is capable of sitting down and reading some book for hours, potentially, and engaging with the ideas and think critically. But when it comes to Quran Kareem, number one, we don't give it that time. There's a lot more interesting books somehow to read. And then even when we engage with the Quran, or when we read the Quran Kareem, most of the time we're reading it for the beauty or for spiritual benefit, or simply just to finish a word, just like, this is my portion for the day. I'm done with it. Alhamdulillah, I did my part. So we never really engage with it seriously. And the very simple question, and we can pose it to all of you, like maybe you can answer in the chat group, is that if we do not break through this, then nothing else we do is meaningful. Everything else we do, it will be an act of apologism, because we're coming, each and every one of us have been trained one way or another from a secular point of view. And we don't realize how much we carry all that built-in secularism in us. But this is really one of the major things so if you want to re-envision Islamic economics and finance and this world altogether, and I start with myself, we really have to establish that Quran connection. So that's one thing. Let me just say quickly, moving on to the next point, I try to put in the chat group. Sometimes we keep talking, it's like, so what is the maqasid methodology? Is the maqasid methodology a fully worked out set of how to get to the truth, or how to vet ideas, how to vet empirical results if you have contradictions? How is this the maqasid? Does the maqasid methodology have all of this in it? Now, this challenge becomes especially complicated when we are talking about Islamic sources, Al-Quran Kareem and the Sunnah, our beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there are, as you know, like thousands of volumes written about every ayah of Quran Kareem. So there's massive debate happening there. And when it comes to the Sunnah, then it is again an ocean of knowledge. So it is incredibly challenging task to deal with these sources. So we know that the challenge is big. The approach that we're trying to do here is that in re-envisioning Islamic economics and finance is to start from what I call our own little galaxy of knowledge, which is like the economics and finance. And from there, we try to connect with the other ones. But the center of this, we need to be driven by the Quran Kareem. Now, the other thing here is that within this, it is not the job of Jasser Oda or Basma or anybody or only Eldus or to come up with all these details, because we'll have to develop our own tools in the realm of economics. Just like if you are in medical sciences, you're going to have a different methodology of reaching maybe a cure. Maybe there is an overlap. Maybe there's an inspiration from biology, physics, and this and that. But at the end of the day, you are dealing with slightly different, aspects, and you have to maybe develop specialized tools for this aspect that we are working with. So the ideal here is that, if we start working on this and develop these tools, and even if you come from a different discipline, like, from public policy and other fields, we need that. But it is public policy looking at economics and enriching the conversation that economists and finance people are talking. Because if we only talk to ourselves, then we'll come up with the very limited views. Sometimes we end up being really closed up. So here, today, I'm not sure if Dr. Ildus, are you going to cover the 7 elements quickly after this, or this is your... Yeah. So what we're hoping to do to make this course a bit more dynamic for the remaining part is that, number one, yes, please, it's incredibly important that you either follow the Maqasid methodology course or you read the materials, because if you do not, then we still don't have the same common ground here. Second, here is, I tried to put a summary of what this Maqasid methodology is all about. And with today, inshallah, we will basically cover that part and we move on to case studies. So inshallah, the goal is to present 2 to 3 case studies in the remaining courses. And this case study can be provided by us and by Ildus, myself, Sister Amreen. Like today, we are striving to provide one transdisciplinary case study, one from the Islamic history, early Medina society, and potentially one from modern Muslim society. So we have 3 case studies. Now, but the key thing, and there we would like to invite you to present case studies from your work, from your concerns, but what is common among all these presentations? What is common is that, number one, everybody presenting that, please consider the points that I listed about the Maqasid methodology. Look at the future orientation in the case study. Look at comprehensiveness. Look at the how critical are you from the present. Look at the 5 shortcomings. Can you notice the apologism? Can you notice the contradiction? Can you notice that? It is a critical framework of of understanding any phenomena, and then we come and the basic philosophy here, like what's the purpose? Are we thinking holistically? Are we thinking about the connection? And here there is holism and holism. Holism looking at the big picture. Holism, and then with only H, is that looking at the interaction within that system of thinking, which is the connectivity, really. Basically, emphasizing this. And then the 7 elements that we have is, again, you can really. It's a useful framework for analyzing any phenomena or any situation that you face. Inshallah, Brother Ildus will go over that. But this whole thing was meant to be both applied to understanding the Quran al-Kareem as well understanding our life. And we're saying that they are all ayat pointing to each other and complementing each other. And give you one example about this concept of ayat. We have one specific lecture by Dr. Basma Abdul Ghaffar talking about the significance of the ayah. But that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to the people of Saba, if you call them Sheba. لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي سَبَأٍ لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي سَبَأٍ آيَةٍ. Like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings an example of people who mismanage their, relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their ungratefulness, and the economic impact of that on them. So he calls their case study or their story, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called that an ayah. And that's one of the most important things. If we can change Muslim mindset to see ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything that is happening to us. What's happening in Palestine, what's happening in Gaza is an ayah. What's happening in American and college campuses all around the world, it is an ayah. The floods and this and that, all these phenomena all around us are ayat, and they connect, and the Quran can speak specifically, directly and give us. But if we are just simply not seeing that, we need the basira, we need intibah, we need all these incredible things that can open to us the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, connecting it with Al-Quran al-Kareem. So with this, kind of quick refresher, I give it back to my dear brother Ildus.
I don't know what you're saying. You're not
Right now, there's nothing being presented.
okay.
And, yeah.
All right. Let me try again. Somehow it just no, it goes again to the same thing. Hold on. Somehow I cannot share what happened with it.
طيب, so let me
It
see.
just shows exit full screen.
So the permissions are there.
Yeah, I can
You
share, but then it just
are-
shows.
And
Okay.
then if I go to participants, and then you are there and your co-host.
Okay, I
so
think no,
guess-
you can see it now. So
تفضل. Okay, but تفضل.
all right. So you can see this. So we are, inshallah, we'll discuss the conceptual framework for transdisciplinary analysis. And these are the things for today. So we'll discuss. We'll just go back and re-look at the Maqasid methodology and framework. And we'll also look at the systems of knowledge. What are the different types of knowledge from the secular perspective, and whether we can use the same framework in an Islamic setting, and some methodology challenges, and then definition and purpose of transdisciplinarity, and why we think it's important, and how we can envision a transdisciplinary analysis. And then also what is the place of revelation in this transdisciplinarity. And then will be a few case studies, just some examples from the Prophet's life. Also, I wanted to share something from the Umar ibn al-Khattab time, but of course also if we can, maybe we could share something from the Quran. Then there is a case that Sister Ambreen will share with us on the organization called Ikhwaat in Pakistan. And I'm going to share, actually I shared the book on a handbook on transdisciplinary research in the group. You can download it, and what I feel is good about this book is that it tries to it presents cases, real world cases where scholars try to solve some problems by using this transdisciplinary perspective. It's not Islamic; it has nothing to do with Islam or Muslims. But it's just that the way they do some of this research, I think it should be interesting just to go over. And as usual, I would start either with the Quran or with the Hadith. And for today, I'd like to start with this Hadith. Where the Prophet ﷺ, he said that أحب الناس إلى الله أنفعهم للناس. So the most beloved to Allah are those who are most beneficial to people. And basically, the beneficial, what type of beneficial I hear, he also states that he He removes some problems of other Muslims. He relieves a distress. Not he. I mean, it's he or she relieving a distress, paying up someone's debt, warding off hunger, and to work with a brother in need is more beloved to me than the fasting in this mosque for a month. So basically, being useful, being really beneficial to people, to humanity, in whatever you do is also equal or maybe even more beneficial in itself than the ritual practice. We have some people in our communities who are really into fasting and prayers and all of this, which are also good. And I mean, we need it at certain point. Even I remember also from myself at IIUM, and I just started practicing as a Muslim. I became a Muslim when I turned 19, 20 years old. So I started practicing at that age. And at the beginning, it is really helpful. But then, as you grow older, as you try to you understand more, this is where you need to practice what you learn. And this is where the most beloved people to Allah are those who are most beneficial. Now let's go back very quickly to the conceptual framework, to the Maqasid methodology, and I hope you have watched the videos. We talked about it last week, and we reiterate again and again, and we will talk about it again and again, that it starts with the purpose. We have to start with a clear purpose, and the purpose has to be with either to be beneficial to people or to be to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from there, that purpose will drive can drive the problem definition. It can drive our approach to problems and to formulation of questions, formulation of our approaches, the methodology, the research methodology itself. And what is important, and again, we come back to the cycles of reflection. The importance of this is that as we go through it, we read more and more, and we deepen our knowledge in revelation, in the Book of Allah, and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We get a new outlook, new perspectives into what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to send us. The message is 6,000, I think, 236 ayahs, and it's a message for all of us. It doesn't matter where we are, who we are, whether we are starting out or we are Qurra or the Hafaz. So it's a message for everyone, whether Muslim, non-Muslim, and we're supposed to, especially for Muslims, we're supposed to understand and share it with others. And this is where, if we use this framework, whenever we read, we use this framework by looking at the concepts and objectives and values, commands, universal laws, groups, and truths. We build something in our minds that will help us to visualize things. So this is where Prof. Jasser, he talks about tasawwur. Tasawwur is an imagination. All right, so we have something, an expectation or a vision of the world, that is based on the revelation. And the more we read, the more we kind of look at these details and interlink between different ayats, and we try to also interlink with the Sunnah and the Kitab al-Kawn, or with the nature. It provides a picture that will constantly grow, and our understanding of this world will grow constantly, and this way we will be able to have maybe a better understanding of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to convey in his message, in revelation, and what he wants from us. And here I wanted to share something from this handbook of transdisciplinary research. And in this specific article by Gertrude Hirsch Hedorn, she breaks down the knowledge into three areas. This is what actually the contemporary epistemologists, they also look at the knowledge of what is, knowledge of how to, and knowledge of procedure. So it's a procedural knowledge. It is the perceptual knowledge, and also the knowledge of how to do. I mean, what is the target? And so it's good to see that we have the systems knowledge. And by the way, I want you also to think about it and maybe also critique it. I mean, if you think it's an incorrect way to look at it, or maybe it's something that we can debate, please, we should do that. And so systems knowledge is what they refer to is the empirical knowledge. So it's a positive knowledge, empirical knowledge that describes what is a current situation. So if we want to study any problem, we would want to describe it first, and describe it in as detailed a fashion as possible. And so this is empirical way to look at things. And of course, Muslim scholars, they use this approach as well in the Islamic civilization. We know that they used even the observation, they used experimentation, and all the approaches that we today know as empirical approaches.
But just one thing,
yes, go ahead.
So the critical thing here with the Maqasid methodology is the focus that on target knowledge. For example, if you look at this this representation, we are saying that it is target knowledge that should drive everything else. System knowledge, it just only tells you what we know today. The target knowledge, it's basically you have a purpose, you're driving toward that purpose, and it is as you strive to get to that purpose, you might discover new laws of physics, you might discover new resources, you might discover new knowledge and understanding of human behavior or biology or physics or whatever it is, international relations, that gets us to that knowledge, that gets us to that target state. So that is the critical thing here with the Maqasid methodology that we're trying to infuse. That's where like it's a future orientation. Future orientation is both like what will happen if we follow a certain course of action, what will happen in the future, but more importantly, what is an objective or goal that I'm trying to reach. And then that's why when you go then approach the Quran al-Kareem with that goal, like, Ya Allah, I mean, I'm really trying to relieve poverty in this area, and I know all this knowledge that exists today, but what else can I do? Is this really is this the only tools? Is this, so that, and then it's that interaction with the Quran Kareem and the knowledge that are all around us that produce a new body of knowledge that gets us to the to our target or objective. Allahu Alam.
Yeah, thank you. So this is how we can look at this different systems of knowledge. And of course, when we set a maqsad, the target knowledge, we also need to work on the strategy, so the way to reach that target. And so this is where the transformation knowledge or action knowledge is important. And of course, in that, we would also take a look at or discuss the implementation. Next, and so from the Islamic perspective, if we look at this, I think what we can add is that because this one, if we only look at systems and target and action, it is from the human perspective as a a subject, just looking at the object in this world without really looking at any higher meaning of the world. So, this is kind of secular perspective, but then part of it, what we can say here is that there is, of course, from the Islamic perspective, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encompassing everything with knowledge. He teaches people, he teaches the prophets, he teaches people through different means. And so we know about this from the revelation, from the prophetic wisdom from the prophets. And so we know that Allah encompasses everything with knowledge. So it is also with Him. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us through the revelation, through the prophets, through our own reasoning. So by giving us the ability to reason, this is where we use the aql and thinking and tafakkur and tadabbur. And so this is the systems of knowledge that I think and we think are relevant. And so here again, this is something that I wanted to share and see maybe we can debate this if I'm on the right perspective, or maybe it is debatable. So the core idea of transdisciplinarity is that different academic disciplines working jointly with practitioners to solve a real world problem. So there is a real world problem that needs to be solved, and that problem can be either partially or partially solved by different disciplines, by having a narrow disciplinary approach. So it is possible, and this is what scholars in, let's say, in economics or in finance, maybe in psychology, in sociology, are trying to look at and trying to solve using their own perspective. But then it is not enough in this really complex world, and the complexity really requires an approach that is more how to say, more inclusive. Something that is holistic and interlinked. And this transdisciplinarity is characterized by the focus on real-world problems, as I said, and transcending disciplinary boundaries, even though they are useful, but then they are insufficient quite a lot of times. And so, and this is where it is characterized by the also wide participation between academia and often from different disciplines, and also the practitioners. And quite often also not only academia practitioners, experts, but also the people who are affected by those research or the policy. And also searching for the unity of knowledge, or something that people coming from different backgrounds, from different disciplines and expertise levels, they can agree on something. One of the biggest challenges of the 20th century was that, and Charles Percy Snow really he described it in his essay named Two Cultures, that the people from the literary background and the engineering or the natural sciences background cannot talk to each other. They don't understand each other. So, but the right perspective that really we can stop and maybe talk to each other and try to find some middle ground, something that we all of us, we can more or less understand. And so,
just one quick comment here, Eldus, is that so this challenge of transdisciplinarity, if you're aware, then like for example, when you say what is Sunnah, Sunnah has a different definition. If you are faqih, if you are like focusing on Islamic law, then Sunnah is basically trying to see what is you should do, but if you don't, then you don't, you don't earn a sin. If you are from a hadith perspective, it means different. If you are, so it's from an usuli perspective, it means different thing. Just tell you that there is a big challenge with transdisciplinarity, even within Islamic sciences. So it is a challenge. And then the challenge, of course, afterward is that how do these different sciences talk to each other? And it is definitely one of the things that we try to approach here at the Maqasid Institute. I just want you to this is not only something in secular spheres of knowledge. This is actually a big challenge in Islamic sciences. Like Ihya Ulumuddin, one of the biggest contribution of Ihya Ulumuddin, he's trying, Imam al-Ghazali, tried to bring these sciences kind of closer and try to bring it to purpose, because he's trying to give you the hikmah behind it and try to bring all this sciences together, including tasawwuf and rabbaniyah. Wallahu a'lam.
And so, in my view, this is also we can more or less call it like a shura, and shura is a Quranic concept. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls us to practice, shura or consultation. And so how to envision this transdisciplinarity and transdisciplinary analysis from the Maqasidi perspective? Now, again, this is only my perception. This is nothing, that written in stone. This is something that needs to be, I think, debated, discussed. And so, in my opinion, this is, first of all, it is what are the steps in this transdisciplinary analysis. So, number one, setting a purpose or intention. So we talked about it again and again. And then once you set this, then you need to frame the problem in some way. So multidimensional problem framing. And what it means, in my understanding, is that a real world problem, whether it is poverty or let's say crime in certain jurisdictions or corruption, it needs to be looked at from different perspectives. So it's let's say corruption is not only a problem of jurisprudence, for example. It's not only the problem that can be only tackled by courts, let's say by legal means. But also you need to infuse it in the education. You need to go to the roots of those problems, which are in education, in families, in really this goes very very deep into the our psyche and also our societies. So multidimensional problem framing. And then there needs to be some consultation and shura, collaborative consultation between experts in different fields. But also sometimes it pays to bring someone who is not really an expert. I mean, one of the things in creative thinking that I also teach is that you bring a naive expert, so-called naive expert. And you bring someone who is not knowledgeable in these things, and he or she may be asking some things that experts may not even think about. So consultation is important here as well. And then use dynamic systems thinking. So I like it. I'd like to think of it as ijtihad. And this is used to discover systems and subsystems and relations and connection and dependencies and as well as all the patterns and emergent properties. And so this is where the Quranic framework, the 7 elements and the framework will help in identifying some of those connections. And as we said, that framework is not only for reading the Quran itself, but also the other literature. It's whether it is Islamic literature or other secular literature. And also engagement with stakeholders, if required, and also we have some ethical implications, and also getting feedback and refining and understanding the problem. So, you know, those who studied systems, dynamic systems or systems thinking, I think this would be, you know, exactly what you study. But then, additional added to it is that you base your thinking on the Quran, on the cycles of reflection. So I want to stop here, and maybe we can discuss this. What do you think? I mean, as a for transdisciplinary approach, and is it? Do you think it is suitable? Do you think it is? It's worth considering this, or maybe we can add or subtract from something, or am I looking at the two from a too secular view? Yes, yeah, Dr. Usman, please, Mir Usman.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So I wanted to ask a question. So in the first step in this transdisciplinary analysis is setting a purpose or intention. So if you were to maybe draw an intersection between this slide and the one in which you have the circular flow of the Maqasid methodology, you have the Quran, cycles of reflection, purpose, formative theories. So does this mean, so does this mean that the purpose, that even before the purpose in the previous slide, you have the cycles of reflection, or where do the cycles of reflection fit into that second slide that you showed?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a continuous process. That's why it is not this representation here. It does not state steps. So it's not like you know, it starts with the purpose and then cycles of reflection and then framework. This is not exactly the steps one by one. But you see, reflection is a continuous process that that people Muslims should engage in. All right, so let's say our daily reading of the Quran. So today I learned something. I read, let's say, from the Surah Al-An'am, and I read something, and it made me think of something. And as I do that, let's say I have a task to let's say to write a paper, or to start my presentation or something. And so it affects my thinking, it affects my the purpose, and also the way I frame the problem. All right, so this cycles of reflection is a continuous process. And so again, it's and as academics, for example, you'll be doing literature reviews. You know the literature in your own area. And this will eventually, I mean, whether you like it or you don't like it, it will have an effect on your thinking process anyway. And so this is where we have to reconcile somehow with the cycles of reflection. So so that we try to switch this thinking into the like the Quranic or the Maqasidi thinking. All right, so it's this is where I think it
So it seems that, you know, in the second slide that you showed, which had those 7 or 8 steps, one by one, 7 steps. So cycles of reflection is something that occurs throughout this process.
Yes, yeah, I would think so. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other
cycles of reflection is a way of life. It is always فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. And that's and cycle of reflection, every cycle is meant to take you to a higher plane of understanding, of hikmah, of insight. So you're always revising yourself. So if I would put one comment about this set of purpose or intention, it is put there as number one, as a very important and to start in the serious phase of seeking Allah's guidance and getting at the problem. But getting to the step one, you might require yourself several cycles of reflections in the Quran al-Kareem, just to Ya Allah, where do I start? Ya Allah, where do I set the right purpose, the right objective? That by itself, and just to connect that with something from our tradition. I mean, in one story, this is like when Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, would be asked a question. He would go and he said, I would sometimes do 3 khatam of the Quran al-Kareem before I answer that question. So even for a major scholar who memorizes, is famous for his memorization of the Quran, he has to somehow go through these cycles of reflection on the full Quran several times before answering that question. So here again, it can be a journey to get to that first step here, setting a purpose or intention. Allahu Akbar.
So it seems that just a quick one sentence thing. So I'll just say that if this transdisciplinary analysis is being done by a group of people together, then it means that all of them have to be doing these cycles of reflection.
Yeah, it's everybody's task. Yes. I mean, again, it's like we breathe. It's like it is just really, we all have to. Now, the interesting thing is that if we are exploring a kind of similar question, I know with Dr. Ildus, we were trying to explore that connectivity and and labor relations and contracting and the gig and the short contract economy. So we were both conducting. So it can be powerful exercise as well to do it, as a group, focus on one target.
Okay, any other question or comment? Yes, Fawzi, yeah, please.
Yes, I mean, I think the way you've put it is quite understandable. And I think that we actually already have this, we can see this from our past when, for example, Baitul Hikmah, scholars came together, put their heads together to find solutions, propound theories and things like that. So, I mean, going through all these things, I agree completely. 6, however, is an issue, and it's just an issue of where do we begin to consider ethical issues? Is it towards the end, or it should be part of the whole process going forward? Because I think that in intention and purpose, ethics must control how we go through the process. So that is what I was thinking about. In this one, ethics comes almost at the end, whilst I think that it should actually be part of the whole thing right from the beginning, at every stage, because sometimes you mix the steps only to get to the end before you do the ethical considerations. Whilst, especially when it is transdisciplinary, we must block the chains of unethical behavior coming to the top.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Fawzi. I completely agree. So it is part of each and every step. So I guess I'll update this slide, inshallah. Thank you. Okay, so now what is the place of the revelation in transdisciplinarity? So again, I mean, it is all sometimes we get into semantics. It's just a term that is it's a modern term. It's something that was coined in the 20th century. And also we know interdisciplinarity and monodisciplinarity. So it's just a word that describes a multimodal, or one of I think it was shared in the group as well, multiplex thinking. So these are all related, and but this specific approach, this approach is required to solve complex real life issues. But sometimes you don't have to do that. I mean, sometimes the issues are simple enough, and maybe they have been solved already, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And it's not so complex, and you don't have to really gather a group of like 20 people and then try to solve it as a big issue. So it's not always required. I mean, depending on situation, but for complex real life problems and issues and challenges, I think it is required. And so also Revelation provides guidance on how to approach issues in life through, and we always come back to these concepts of Tawheed and Taqwa and Khilafah and Shura and so many other concepts that can be found in the Quran and in the Islamic tradition. So there is a guidance on how to approach it, and the main, the fundamental of all of this is at-Tawheed, of course. Especially when we talk about the economic issues and the issues of al-mal, or the wealth and the assets. We know that al-mal is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The wealth is from Allah, and He is He is the owner of everything. And we are, as khulafa on this world, on this earth, we have our own task, or the task of stewardship on this world. And also, it provides a foundation upon which the various stakeholders may base their thought and decision. I mean, the revelation provides the foundation for all of us to base our thought and decision. But then again, there's it brings a problem whereby there are many approaches to it. There are many methodologies. There are many schools of thought, and there are many ikhtilaf, or there's a lot of disagreement among scholars, among people. And so, again, we need to find a common ground, even in understanding. And so this is where this course also, and the Maqasid methodology and Maqasid Institute, were trying to bring the idea that there is something that we can fundamentally agree on. And this is, certain fundamental questions in the revelation, like Tawheed and others. And there are foundational concepts, so we can think using those. And also, the revelation tackles the issues of and challenges in systematic and interconnected manner. And so we, in my opinion, we can classify the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at it, tackles certain issues as from different perspective, some sort of a like transdisciplinary. It's a holistic. So this is what we can call holistic or interconnected and purposeful. So any comment on this? If we are in agreement, we can just continue. So the economic phenomena, now we can spend another 1 hour in just discussing some examples. So case studies very quickly. I mean, there are so many we can talk about. And even in the case of, let's say, Dhul Qarnayn in Surah Al-Kahf, I mean, there are many cases in the Quran that are related to economics, and of course we cannot take all of them. And maybe as we go, some of you may want to take up 1 or 2 cases from the Quran. And so, as Dr. Basma in the last class, she mentioned that she would like to start from the idea of rizq, and I would always start with the idea of infaq, or spending, expenditure. So they're all interrelated. And there are other cases, the case of Qarun and others. So let's just go very quickly over some of them. So in Surah Al-Kahf, Dhul Qarnayn is endowed with Allah, by Allah with knowledge and position and strength. And he followed only the best ways, and he was given the choice to exercise, either to punish or treat with kindness. And he also established the law, and he helped people to protect against the Yajuj and Majuj. So it's a public, like a security project. But then he did not accept the tribute from the people he helped to protect. So people, they offered to pay this kharaj. And so we can see some of the concepts here, like the power, the knowledge, and commitment to the righteous means, and the establishing someone on earth, تمكن. ولقد مكنا ذو القرنين في الأرض. So he was established in the land with power and knowledge. And so it's not only the personal trait, but it can be associated also with the people, with the nation, with tribe. There are objectives like fulfilling Allah's commands and helping people to establish security, some values, commands, establishing a law that is easy to follow, and also choosing between the punishment and kindness, and the different groups. Then very quickly, the case of Qarun, and Qarun, his case is it is covered in Surah Al-Qasas, just one eye in Ankabut and in Ghafir. And what we can say about him is that he was from the people of Musa, and he was wealthy, enormously wealthy, that even the keys to his kanz, kunuz, could not be carried even by strong people. And so together with the Pharaoh, he participated in denial of the Musa's message, and also he participated in persecution of the believers. And also he was advised to use this wealth to seek the reward in this life and the next life. But he became arrogant, and so he ascribed the possession of the wealth to his knowledge. So he was knowledgeable, and because of that, he became this wealthy. But it's not. So it is a position of arrogance, and this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished him. And one additional ayah I want to also quote from Surah Al-An'am, and I think it is connected to this, is that, it is stated, وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْفَرِحِينَ لَا تَفْرَحْ. So his people advised him not to be so overjoyed that you have this much wealth. And also in Surah Al-An'am in 44, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فلما نسوا ما ذكروا به فتحنا عليهم أبواب كل شيء حتى إذا فرحوا بما أوتوا أخذناهم بغتة فإذا هم مبلسون. So this is in this ayah actually it talks about the people who denied the message, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened for them all kinds of khair, all kinds of things, and the maybe wealth. So this actually having wealth is not only the sign of the blessing, but it can be a sign of that something is about to happen to you as a people. So this is where we also have to consider this kind of messages from the Quran as well. And so the people they were taken. They were punished, and as they did not expect. So this is in case of the case of Qarun, and then also here we have the concepts, the tyranny, the treasures given by Allah, not only acquired by someone's knowledge, but it is given by Allah. And false sense of ownership of wealth as having gained due to knowledge. And objectives of these ayats is that warning to every arrogant wealthy person who thinks that the wealth is due to his knowledge. and skills, and warning to those who envy Qarun and want to be in his shoes. Again, it's also part of the story. And those with true knowledge recognize the reward of Allah is better for the believers. And commands here not to be arrogant and to also to seek the home of the hereafter. And the universal law that I could find is that the corruptors will face the consequences of their evil, and patience will always have, al-aqibatu lil-muttaqin. So the patient or the muttaqin, they will have the best reward at the end. And there are different groups and others. So I want to just stop here for a while and see, and but maybe we can. Yes, Dr. Muslim, please.
Yeah. So in this particular example of the case of Qarun, it stops at groups, but there aren't any proofs. I wanted to ask as to what would be the proofs in this case, or why aren't there proofs in this list?
As Dr. Basma mentioned last in the last lecture, it's the most difficult part. So this is what I managed to bring, and I think we can also look at it from the world. I mean, they can be we can identify this the proofs of this let's say of these objectives and laws. We can identify them, the proofs, from the empirical studies or from historical studies or civilizational studies. So it is possible to identify the proofs from additional, let's say, historical or civilizational studies, and also from the Quran itself. You can, like the end of Qarun is a proof. What happened to him? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides the proof in the story itself.
Jazakallah.
All right. Now, let me stop sharing here, and maybe Sister Ambreen, she has a case on Akhwat. Let me stop sharing it. Sister Ambreen, if you would like to share.
So, just, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah, I hope all of you can see my screen. Ikhwaat Foundation, some of you might have heard about it. It's a microfinance NGO in Pakistan. It is working on zero interest loans. So I just will give short first background of like Ikhwa. Ikhwa is from the word brotherhood. So in the Quran, we can see there are ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention about what is Ikhwa. So innamal mu'minuna Ikhwa, like the believers are brothers with each other, and one of one another. So then make peace and harmony between your brother and have consciousness of Allah, so that maybe He will show you mercy. There is also there are numerous actually. So in this particular ayah, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَةٍ إِخْوَانًا وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَا. So here he brought your hearts together and you become by his favor brothers. So since humans, we live in a society, we have to live with each other in cooperation and supporting each other. So as it is also evident from the hadiths of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that the believers are like a body. If one part itches, the other parts feels it. Human society is such that we should take care of each other, and it grows and it flourishes when there is a sense of connection, connectivity, support, and bond with each other. Also, there is another hadith that tells a Muslim is brother of another Muslim, so that so he should not oppress him, nor should he hand him over to an oppressor. Whoever fulfilled the needs of his brother, Allah will fulfill his need. Whoever brought his Muslim brother out of a discomfort, Allah will bring him out of a discomfort on the day of resurrection. And whoever screened a Muslim, Allah will screen him on the day of resurrection. So the reward is not only in this world, but also in the hereafter. Whoever, like, if we do good to our Muslim brothers, the reward is also immediate in this world and also in the hereafter. So this is basically the philosophy of Ikhwaat. So Ikhwaat is working towards eradicating poverty, and as we know that in Islam, poverty is a multifaceted phenomenon. It's not just material poverty, but also spiritual poverty. And many of the social illnesses are because of the spiritual poverty. So we know that poverty eradication is #1 SDG goal of the United Nations. And what do we mean by poverty is the extreme level of poverty is whereby the people are living by less than $2.15. So according to one of the estimates, about 9.2% of world's population is living in poverty. That is 719 million people. So the Ikhwaat vision is to, elevate poverty. And in Pakistan also we have people who are living in extreme poverty. And it's also to, to help the underprivileged people. So their vision is to have a poverty-free society built on the principles of compassion and equity. So this NGO was launched in 2001. We have many other support programs, income support programs by the government, but they are not 100% interest-free. But Ikhwaat is the first 100% interest-free NGO. Even you might have heard about Grameen Bank. Grameen Bank is also not 100% interest-free. It gives loans on very minimal interest rate. The repayment ratio of Ikhwaat Foundation is 99.9%. So it just not give money and monetary support to people, but it also works to do the capacity building. They have schools and the universities as well, where they provide the free education to underprivileged people. This is some of the, they are not only providing support to males and females, but also transgenders, because it is one of the underprivileged segment of society in Pakistan. So they have 800 plus branches all over the country, and they have dispersed so far 220 billion of loans. And there are 5.4 million beneficiaries all over Pakistan. They have also, they do provide the support to cure illnesses such as hepatitis and diabetes free of cost. They have schools, 305, and colleges. So this background is important because this is one of the practical example of how things can work. I see a lot of apologism in in the industry that the banks cannot be social finance institutions because they think that they work on the mechanism of financial intermediary, so they are constrained by their depositors' money. But I believe that is not really true. And this example is also a motivation that community should help themselves. We should not look at for all the problems, for the solution of the problems towards the government all the time. So the owner of this organization, Saqib Amjad, Mr. Saqib Amjad, has been awarded one of the highest award of Pakistan recently. So what I could, I didn't take a Maqasid methodology course, but I'm reading and looking at the videos, I could extract these things. It can be, it is open for further improvement, and please do oversight my mistakes or like point out to them. So I started with the concept of Ikhwaat. The main, like the name of the organization is from the philosophy of brotherhood. It's also about mal or risk that Allah has provided for all of us. But it's, if someone is poor, it means that someone is not doing, that someone rich is not doing his job to this person, the money that is required. It's also about the covenant that we made with Allah, that we will live the life in this world according to his commandments. I could extract the concept of qard hasan, that is a benevolent loan that does not require a fixed time period repayment. Need fulfillment is a concept that we should be fulfilling the need of our community people. Just now, when we saw that if we fulfill the need of our brother, then Allah will fulfill the need for us. Also, there are the feeding the poor and a trial, because mal and risk, when Allah gives someone, and it is not just the monetary terms. Mal and risk also involves good health and lineage and everything. So it is a trial, and some people are given more and some people are given less. So the one who are given more is also a trial, and then those who are not having enough is also a trial. So the objective is to serve the underprivileged people, poverty eradication, believe in Allah, because when we have mal, and we know that it is not by our own hard work or something, it is also a reward, or it's something that is a mean to an end, then it creates our faith becomes more strong. Circulation of money is a very important objective of giving out. Dispel the love of wealth. So when we are one of the objective of giving money out, circulation of money is to dispel the love of wealth. So what are the core values like care, compassion, social responsibility, social justice, solidarity, spirit of love, and fear of Allah? The commands are we can find in the Holy Quran: give alms and zakah to purify your wealth, and spend in the way of Allah, so that you have mercy and blessings of Allah. Also a sense of responsibility, like the commands are that you should be taking care of, considerate of the poor people, the orphans in your community. Do not hoard, also that is to circulate the money. Do not kill your sons. There is a ayah in Quran that do not kill your son out of poverty. So these are the commands that I could find. Then universal law deal with justice, humility, equality, and freedom. The groups that I could figure out is whenever there is a ayah, it talks about Ya ayyuhal mu'minun or Ya ayyuhal muslimun. So believers, brothers, the people who are involved in it, like poor people to be served, rich, needy, beggars, slaves, captives, travelers. And the proof is that purposefulness. Why Allah asked us to circulate money? There is a purpose for it. And also there is a purpose in the philosophy of the foundation Ikhwaat, that they want to eradicate poverty and uplift the underprivileged people. It's also a ibadah, community service. There is proof in the Quran. Punishment will be given those who don't. Although if you will not fulfill the command of like purifying your wealth by giving zakat, then the punishment is that there will be no barakah. So also the proof is that when you give, there is more barakah, blessing, and also you develop the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's all from my side. Any feedback would be welcome.
So this is really beautiful work, Sister Amreen, but if you keep that 7 elements slide, I think it's really good to refer to here. So one of the things that the incredible thing about and again how the Quran is activated and empowered through the maqasid methodology is that when you look at the commands, so basically we're thinking and saying that in every ayah of the ayat of the Quran al-Kareem, there is a command. That is your urge to do something. I mean, if you think about it, okay, so it's talking about Qarun, but well, but on the other hand, it's talking about if you have wealth, this is how you should behave, or this is how you should not behave. This is how you should have compassion or not, and have to be firm. So every single ayah of the Quran Karim has some sort of command or urging us to do something. So this is I like how, but sometimes we only think about commands in terms of specific. This is wajib, this is the sunnah, this is mubah. So that is where we're trying to break away from some of the legal language and focus in traditional Islamic legal education into seeing each one of Allah's ayat is asking us or like directing us, encouraging us to behave in a certain way. One suggestion for the groups, if you continue to work on this, is that there is the indebted people, right? Al-Gharimin, for example, they can be definitely, and they're the people who seek knowledge, the students. So, Musa alayhi salam is a person who was seeking knowledge, and then he goes to a teacher, and he is like, and and he goes on a journey to that. So that again, sometimes, again, because we bring this conversation to a group like this, we can enrich this conversation. One thing again, like I mentioned in the comment, that the proofs can be challenging, but part of the proof, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discusses in the in Surah Al-Qalam, these people try to they've seen how their father, who developed the wealth, grew it all his life, and he was generous and he was charitable. As soon as they take on the wealth from their father, because they did not go through the journey, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to teach them a lesson. Like, no, it is, you are being blessed because some of this wealth is being circulated. Like if you're thinking from economic point of view, but they wanted to, no, let me just go ahead early in the morning and reap, just get all whatever the produce of the earth, and then before any poor people come along, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed that. So this happens either through direct intervention from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but there are other ways, the dynamics that can interfere in the accumulation of wealth when we do not circulate this wealth and share it with the less the underprivileged or the people who are in need. One last comment here when it comes to the values. So I know this can be challenging because sometimes values used in the methodology, if you also read the chapter, sometimes it is a way to evaluate any issue. So this was like, how do you put value on something? It's not like values as in, what I value in life. I mean, but it's kind of related. But here we're saying like, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call good? And what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call bad? What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call beautiful? And what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call ugly? So it's kind of a measurement and metric system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides in the Quran Kareem. So this is how, because then many of these, what is being mentioned here as values, can easily be put under concepts. For example, these are all important concepts that are can be included there. Wallahu alam. But this is good effort. So the next thing here potentially is that how does this methodology, if you apply it to the ukhuwa, example or case study, is there any way you can critically evaluate what they're doing at ukhuwa? Is there any way you can enhance it? Is there any like universal law that they are not paying attention to? They can improve, or alhamdulillah, they're doing everything perfectly well. Wallahu alam.
I think I'm not in a position to really reply to it because I need to really dig into if they are what is the criteria for them to judge that who is a underprivileged family or community that they should give loan. Do they have any moral hazard, or like from their donors, do they have any kind of conditions that where should they be spending? So these are the things that needs further research.
Dr. Mir Usman, your hand is up. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I was wondering that when we talk about like the case of Ikhwaat, and from reading their organization materials, we get the sense that they are pursuing these objectives, values, and therefore we have a sense of the commands that Allah has given for those causes and the universal laws and so on. I think one potential way of seeing whether or not they are really living up to their values is if someone actually does the research and goes into Ikhwaat, talks to the management, talks to the employees, talks to the people that they are lending money to, how their experience has been, and so on and so forth. And therefore, then we can see a gap between the universal laws that it seems to be that they are pursuing and the universal laws that they are maybe actually ignoring, or they're actually not following as well as they should. So it also seems to give a kind of a roadmap for organizational improvement. I mean, I'm just saying, articulating a way that this can potentially be put to use to bring about organizational improvement.
Correct. Yeah. I know one thing, of course, just to be fair to Sister Ambreen, this is not specifically a focus area of her research, but in preparation for this session, we wanted to say, like, just one way to help us think. Sometimes we only bring examples from the time of the Sahaba and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we ignore examples of people just simply trying and they have a purpose, they have an objective, they have a maqsad, maqsad from Ukhuwa. So here for especially even academicians, especially and like researchers, sometimes we only go to is there is a research journal talking about issues. We just look at there. We don't look at real life examples and learn from it. And sometimes like it's part of it, like we need to humble ourselves because these people don't know anything. But sometimes until it becomes so obvious, it's like, oh, what was this all the time? Where were we? So it's important to go look at the whole example and maybe abstract. And for us, like when we say re-envisioning Islamic economics and finance, here is a group of people that are running universities, clinics, financing operations. So why are we, puzzled? I mean, about how to reestablish an Islamic mode of life. What is missing here? Can we, abstract and apply the same idea elsewhere? Do we properly understand the business model here? I mean, so that's sometimes. What is the consumer behavior? What is the behavior of people who are indebted and they're paying back? It's a qard hasan. They're given qard hasan. Somehow they can get away with paying it back. So why are they paying these loans back? What is the incentive from a pure economic finance point of view? So like, I mean, if there is no enforcement, then I do not need to pay the money back. So sometimes we make assumptions about, so this can be positive economics. Like one time I was talking about what is positive, what is not. Positive economics simply, here is empirical information that's telling me that people do not behave in purely self-interested way short term. There is a model that shows people actually paying back because they want to do good. And so this is the proper, and I look at it and what's the percentage of people? So for me, that becomes also positive economics in terms that I'm running this organization, for example. That will be really interesting to get into, like what you're suggesting, if you can take one more step or two. Well, it can be like 100% of people paying back every single qard hasan will be incredible, but most likely there is a percentage of default or inability to pay back and that can be also for a bunch of reasons, and legitimate reasons, or simply, taking advantage. But what is this percentage? How can we improve this percentage? I mean, how can we, spot the challenges there? But all in all, this looks like as a government within a government, like a system in a system that trying to make the world a better place, even a little bit. And then like when Nabi Shu'aib, alayhi salam, says, "In uridu illa al-islah ma istata'tu." Our job is to make an improvement. Sometimes we are obsessed that the whole system needs to be better. The whole government structure should be Islamic. And in the process trying to achieve this whole Islamically ideal government, we make so many violations of other Islamic laws and principles and ethical standards. And here's the people, maybe they did not need to compromise as much. And alhamdulillah, they are giving us a model. Wallahu alam.
Okay, so let's move on. I think we had Dr. Mahdi wanted to comment also, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Just, mashallah, go ahead.
We definitely want to, let's take one more contribution to Ukhuwa or to this example. I would love to hear, I mean, if you have one more contribution here.
I mean, I'm just my lack of knowledge here. Sister Ambreen, when you talk about qard here, a loan, does it have to go through microfinance? Is it so? Mashallah, I think this is great. This is a great presentation, great endeavor. I mean, this is like good niyyah. I'm not saying anything against that. I'm just wondering, if you look at the numbers of people receiving those loans, especially in Southeast Asia, which are like 90% women, older women. I'm just wondering here, this is not really in the West, the population we're trying to target to lift population up. If you think about, I live in America here, so if I associate this phenomena to like African American, the destruction of family, you're trying to help out people. But I'm just wondering if by helping women, this is a good endeavor, but if you want to lift the whole family up, why is it the case that 90% of recipients are women? And is it really, from an Islamic perspective, again, I'm not trying to deny everything. I'm just trying to understand the situation. I'm not from Pakistan. I'm not from this part of the world here. But if I'm a policymaker here in the US, if I want to help families to strive together, do I really want to target like women to make them workable wage for the whole family? Is it really the right target, even from an Islamic perspective? I just don't know. I'm just asking the question here.
Yeah, maybe this is the reason why the women are mostly the recipient of these third, or maybe can be a one of the target group that they want to. But I will not say that the woman is the bread earner in Pakistan. Usually, it's the male who should be. But there can be many reasons. Maybe those women who they are widow, or they want to give them so that they can capacity
Maybe I
building,
can
in
help.
terms of capacity building. Yeah, please.
Well, one of the reasons that was stated, I think, by the banker for the poor, with Muhammad Yunus, in his microfinance initiative, that women are better payers. They are more reliable. And it is what he found out, that men are not reliable in his country as recipients of financing, of microfinancing. So they don't pay back. But the women, somehow they are more responsible and they do pay back. So that's this is what he found out in his work, and this is the reason he wanted to focus on women specifically. And I think it may be also in the case in Pakistan. So I'm not sure.
Again,
Yeah. Which is
are we helping societies if we keep encouraging male not to be responsible and pushing women to work harder so they can lift up families? I don't know. It's just, I'm not a political scientist, not in policy. I'm not policy scientist, but I'm just wondering from an Islamic perspective, okay, where, to me, family is the core value in Islam. And so why would I ask my wife to, to work? I don't want to.
Yeah, Brother Amir, maybe, what do you think?
Yeah, so one thing is that in developing countries, and I'm from Pakistan, and I have read a little bit of research involving microfinance. The problem is that women are not the main bread earners, but they are also definitely bread earners, because the thing is that the social safety net in Pakistan is almost non-existent, right? So the husbands or the main leaders of the family, they are often working in the cities, or they have the main job, but that income is never enough, right? And in Pakistan, the thing also is that it's not just the nuclear family that needs to be supported. It's also usually the entire extended family that is working, that is living in close proximity and or in the same house, actually. So the woman or the wife of the male leader of the house, she is equally responsible for not only reproducing the household, but she's also supposed to do some kind of work, or often ends up kind of doing some work that supplements the family income. So as a result, if the men are working in factories or in working in the city or whatever, then these women will be doing some sort of cottage industry kind of work, making some handicrafts or making some doing some services, and for that they still need some money, right? And that is where this microfinance comes in. The microfinance comes in, and these women, they have they use that money to 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 uh, start some small business, or to help with uh, procuring materials, raw materials or something. And one reason for the fact that women often are better payers of these loans back, I mean, they are more better repayers, is that because women have good networks amongst themselves. Women, they often lend each other money, and then they use that money, which is often borrowed from some of their friends, to pay back the loan. And for men, they're working in the capitalist economy in the city. They're just working, just earning and sending money back to their families, and obviously keeping some for themselves. But but there are multiple reasons why women are better repairs, and also the fact that women just have to work. It's ultimately a major problem is that there is no social safety net, and women are forced to work because that's the only way that they can provide for not just themselves, their husbands, and also their extended families.
Assalamu alaikum. So what I wanted to comment on was that there are certain problems that are created by modernity, and one of them is that the family structure is broken down because of these migrations that are caused by economic reasons. And although I've heard very positive things about the Ikhwaat, and I know of some people who've done trainings for them for men, so I wouldn't say that they only help women. They're focused on helping women, but I think there's maybe some suggestions have to be made that if we want to make sure that in Islamic, because Ikhwaat is in its essence they're borrowing from Islam. So if we want to make sure that an Islamic society is re-erected, we have to make sure that the family unit is preserved. So as the sister mentioned, that they also they have a focus on the trans community. So perhaps that's also something that points to maybe where they're going wrong, because a murajjal or a khunsa, a mukhannas is not something that Islam recognizes as a community. So this is a very liberal understanding of how communities work and how identities are assigned to people. So Islam doesn't recognize people who are acting like women as a community, and Islam has a mechanism of reintegrating them into the society Islam wants to create, and not economically help them in a way that they stay like that. So that was my comment.
But these are all a great comment, and this is why we think that bringing this conversation and maybe deep diving into some case studies and it's really helpful, and just put us in perspective. There are great efforts taking place, and sometimes we just condemning darkness in one place, and then but there are people who are trying to light candles. So okay, then what can we do to amplify? And of course, one step before that is, do we understand really the business model? Because I'm still, for example, I'm not sure what is the business model of Ikhwaat. What is a quantified impact? How did really, was a real like an empirical case study that actually looked at the numbers? Are they open? They're transparent? Would they share their books with outsiders? So on and so forth. The structure, the governance of the organization, the sources of funds, is zakat, is this. I'm not saying that they're not doing any of that. I'm just saying, for me, it is heartwarming. Just like first, it's a positive thing that alhamdulillah we have something like that, which is probably we learned from Muhammad Yunus's example, Grameen Bank, and his organization also grew into a massive empire of conglomerate of businesses, providing, all kind of cheap communication and better quality communication. But then the government ended up kind of practically crushing the whole experiment, which is another kind of interesting thing to know. And part of this, both examples, is like, again, when we talk about sunan, or talking about this positive kind of, generally, we're discovering that through certain societal structure, village structure, we can improve accountability, we can improve compliance, payback, and with that, a lot of good happens. And when you look at the Islamic system, I mean, yes, this is all, والمؤمنون والمؤمنات بعضهم أولياء بعض. It's kind of this system of guardianship and wilaya over each other. يأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر. Now we enjoin what is good and we prevent what is evil. In this context, يأمرون بالمعروف, let's work hard, let's improve our lot. And then if we do that, and this is again a proof, and it's like logic that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala establishes here. If you actually working hard to establish what is good for us and work towards it, and identify what is harmful and bad for us and try to limit it, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the same ayah goes into وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ أُولَٰئِكَ سَيَرْحَمُهُمُ اللَّهُ. And they establish salah, they know they have a spiritual connection, and they have a charitable orientation. أُولَٰئِكَ سَيَرْحَمُهُمُ اللَّهُ. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall descend on this kind of community. But you see, it is very dynamic. They are looking for what's good, identifying what's bad, working hard, having spiritual power, and then so it's. I mean, we can identify that this is something we recognize in our day, in any social experiment. These are key elements in this experiment. Wallahu alam.
Okay, so as a last part, I think we are coming close to the end of our session. But I wanted to actually, what I shared with you, the book on handbook on transdisciplinary research. I think what we could do is you just go through it and see some of the examples of transdisciplinary research, and maybe we can discuss them in the next session, inshallah. But I wanted also to bring one example from Russian Federation, and it is something that I heard today and really surprised. Well, Muslims are being quite active there in certain areas. In certain areas, of course, they cannot really. But one example I want to bring is from the city of Saratov. Just this morning, my student in Islamic economics class, she brought this example. So what happens is that in the issue of zakat, the local muftis or the local Islamic organization, they collect the zakat, but then they have this problem of collection. And so what they started doing is that from whatever they started collecting, first of all, they use it for educational purposes. I mean, to educate people of the need for zakah, and because people don't understand the whole concept of it. And secondly, as gradually the zakat payment has increased, what they did is that they increased some portion of zakat would go towards talking with the authorities, talking with the media, and providing them maybe with some ideas, with talking with them. So they just use that money, part of it, to create the better relationships with the authorities, with the media. And so this is where visibly what it produced is that in that specific case, in that city and in that region, oblast, the Muslims, they get somehow they are better situated than in some other, even though they are minority in that region. So it's another way to pair or use the zakat for for education, as well as this مؤلفة قلوبهم, in order to get some leeway or some understanding from the authorities. So I don't know, that's something I found very interesting, and that was very positive for the community, for the local Muslim community. It's just another small example that I wanted to share.
Yeah, but I take this as a case study. Akhi Idris, it's very important to learn from, because what they've done, they made some ijtihad here. And the ijtihad that they prioritized this initial sums of money to put into re-education. And the re-education, if you have the right creative fiqhi understanding, it's like this is going to the al-amilina alayha. So the first, spend it on al-amilina alayha, those who are operating this fund, or empower them to teach people about zakah, which is a massive challenge in our communities. There is very few people really know how to handle zakah. And then generated more income to go back and let's say fuqara and masakin, and then and spend on the other. This is like, for example, that's why like when if you go at it from a specifically fiqhi, like Islamic rulings and jurisprudence, you'll have a big problem convincing fuqaha to approve this approach. But then, so what I'm trying to say, like here, and reimagining economics and finance, if the ultimate objective, how can we serve the ultimate objectives? People's compliance with zakah, improving people's compliance with zakah. Second, just how is that is best? And of course, you can say so much like, why don't we just put a little bit of sadaqah towards the education campaign and we are out of this challenge? And that is a valid concern. But sometimes, somehow, I mean, I face that all the time. People only want to donate zakat. I mean, like the concept of donating sadaqah is very weak. Somehow I find it in many Muslims. So you find sadaqah, zakat foundations being forced to use then zakat. But for me, it is, if you bring one example, one pilot test that uses this example that you mentioned, and another one that does not use it, which one performs better over time? So this then becomes the positive thinking or case study, pilot testing, and see what works best. And that's the empiricist, from my empiricist background, to say just try it and see what happens. And and that is ijtihad. And ijtihad is that you tried something and it worked, and you tried something did not work. If it worked, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you double. If it did not work, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you once, obviously observing the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not violating something that is explicitly haram. Wallahu alam. Brother Kashif.
So I wanted some clarification on how would the Maqasid approach square this circle. For instance, the ulama specifically say when you're dealing with zakah, the milkiya or the ownership has to be transferred to the person you're helping. But in these situations that were quoted, the funds are used to perform an act and a service maybe, but the milkiya is not transferred. So how does the Maqasid approach not contradict the fuqaha, but also help us figure out a new system?
Yeah. So number one, we'd say if you're truly following this Maqasid approach, then first you're going to start with that comprehensive study and learning. And part of the comprehensive study and learning is, besides contemplating the Quran Karim, there's definitely one of the steps that we say in the Maqasid methodology is to understand the literature. I mean, called literature review in academia. In our case, just like we say that, start by contemplating the Quran Karim and the Sunnah independently, just on without the tafsir, without but then you have to get to a point in the 5 steps of research you have to get to the point where you do the literature review. The literature review here is what does the fuqaha and the wisdom or historical wisdom until now says about it. So in this case, I don't want to jump and tell you how it is, because we really need to spend the time into studying this properly. But what I can say as a short response, like first go through this process. Now, the interesting thing when it comes to from my experience, direct experience, working with mashayikh and fatwa and back and forth, number one, we really don't have an issue. There's plenty of opinions covering every possible combination. And there is and mashayikh and ulama and scholars throughout Muslim history, they easily default back to the concept like maslaha and masalih mursala and other concept in usul fiqh to justify almost a whole range of anything that cannot specifically find being discovered. So there is always that default. And even when you look at the masalih al-zakah, and then they tell you fi sabilillah. I mean, of course, sabilillah, is it only for the people who are fighting for the sake of Allah? Oh no, it's all da'wah activities except masajid, and but schools are allowed, or it is only to specific people. So almost you get into any one of these, and then there is a really huge range of opinions. What we try to do in Maqasid, the methodology, it's like you can go through this huge range of opinions, and what happens typically in fatwa councils, because you bring people in fatwa council from different backgrounds, and what happens that they all share, well, in Hanafi opinion there is this, and there's Maliki opinion this, and there's this and that, but there is this unknown, unpopular opinion from Sufyan al-Thawri, who is his school of thought and madhab, that has no proper followers today. But then they might go with the opinion of Sufyan al-Thawri because it is an established opinion from an established scholar. But what happens at the end of the day, if when you look at a compilation of fatwa, for example, the European Fatwa Council, there is no clear methodology or approach in why each one of these fatwas, what exactly was followed, because it was just like a selective reading. And we try to put some wisdom behind why this is. What the Maqasid methodology try to achieve is that after you do this, you have to know what our scholars have said and respect that and honor it. But at the end of the day, present a story that is coherent, that is sensible from A to Z, without necessarily going and in the footnotes, in the index, you can have all the discussion. Because that is what I feel like Muslims now, they are lost in the details of the fiqh, in the details of the legal opinions. And then they end up like, well, I can just choose anything I want, or there's no clear reason or logic or hikmah behind the legal rulings that we are sometimes we share with people, or we clearly are trying to apologize, or we're clearly trying to use a hila shar'iyya. And that may work in the mindset of a faqih, because a faqih is thinking primarily like a lawyer. If it fits the legal context and and language and logic, he has done his job and he feels good with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he feels like he's fulfilled, really truly fulfilled, that he's fulfilled his role. But then anybody else come and look at it like, but this does not make sense. That you clearly created a legal trick here. Don't you see that? Obviously. And that then, because impugns Allah's sometimes, Allah's wisdom and hikmah behind the tashri'ah. So I hope I'm kind of trying to answer you a little bit here. Number one, there is a lot of flexibility in the Islamic body of law over 1400 years. But beyond that, we need to put it all in a sensible, holistic, purposeful structure so that Islam makes a lot more sense to everybody that deals with it. Wallahu a'lam. So just to make sure that we are practically, our time is
Yeah.
done, so I can give it to Sister Ambreen to close the class, but typically I'll stay inshallah behind at least. I'll be happy to chat about anything. If you have any, especially if you have any case study that you would like to bring, and we can give you 15 minutes to present a case study that can be part of your, and you're calling it assignment, but it's really, I'm hoping that each and every one of you have something burning issue or question in mind that you'd like to discuss, and you would like to try to see how do your best to apply the maqasid methodology towards it. If not, you bring it here and we can all contribute to helping maybe build the right intellectual structure, or just the structure, the learning, the knowledge structure to help you and help us all to approach that issue in a more meaningful Islamic holistic way, bi'awnihi ta'ala. Sister Ambreen, you want to go ahead and...
Sure. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation and contribution in this session. Inshallah, see you next week. We wish you a very good and productive next week, and also a pleasant weekend. Let's end our session with the recitation of Surah Al-Asr. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.
Okay, we can stop the recording.